I guess. Are we using
Yeah,
this
use
one?
that one. Yeah, it's
Good morning. It is wonderful to see such a crowd here. This is this is great. I'd like to start this. Uh, we'll call the meeting to order. I've got 9:07 about. First of all, I'd like to introduce Carolyn Henry is going to be doing the invocation for us. So if you could please stand. I'm going to go over here.
Let's bow our heads, please. Thank you for this day, Lord, and for this beautiful community. We're indeed blessed for the privilege of getting to live here. Father, we lift up those who've lost so much because of the fires and the devastating floods, and they're continuing. We pray for your peace and comfort for them, along with the strength and stamina to complete the daunting task that they face. Father, now we ask that you bless this meeting and provide guidance and wisdom to those who lead this club. Thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Carolyn. If you would join me with the Pledge of Allegiance now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I will now turn this over to Tom.
As you all know, whoa. As you all know, the backbone of this operation are the people that actually do the work. This has been a tough time for, I know the members of the club are suffering, but there's a lot of our employees that are suffering too. It's very impressive to a person like me who's worked for a lot of different organizations, the benevolence of this group of people. Excuse me. There was a lot of people that lost everything. Didn't know where they were going to put their head on the pillow. But then all of a sudden, the money flowed in. We got the money dispersed, some of it yesterday, most of it, I think, yesterday. And now these people have some hope. What we're going to do today is we have some milestone anniversaries. And I'm going to start with the ones that's the most impressive. Mr. Glenn Denny. Glenn's been here for 20 years. That is amazing to me. Glenn, come on up, man. We've got a very nice commemorative plaque and a little propina, if you know what that means in Spanish, for Mr. Glenn. So if we could, give him a round of applause. You know, our golf courses are never been in better shape. You know, and there's a reason for that. And that's because of this guy. And he's hired good people under him. And, you know, like Joe over at Outlaw, and we got Rodney now over at Coco. And so his guys are out there. We don't probably have enough guys for him. generally day in and day out, but they take really good care of your main asset. So, Glenn, thank you.
Thank you.
You
I
bet.
appreciate it.
You bet. We also have a 10-year anniversary. Miss Olga, will you come up here, please? Olga's been here for 10 years. And she's back there, and this is one of the people you never see. She's back there working every day, never doesn't come to work, always is here. But Olga lost everything. Give her a big round of applause, please. Now, we've got a lot of things happening. We're helping Olga, and we'll get her back square. But this is the unknown face and the unknown loss. You know, some of the people you all see every day and get to express, you know, everything that you want for them. But this Olga's back there, and she's the reason why you guys get fed every day. That every time you want to get fed. So thank you. All right. All right. We have several 5-year people. We'll start with Abby. Will Abby come forward? Where's Abby? There she is. Abby's a 5-year. You know, time flies. It's hard to believe Abby's already been here for 5 years. So thank you for everything. Appreciate you. Where's Big Daniel? Sharpest dressing guy in all of eastern New Mexico, right here, man. Thank you, Daniel, for all you do. We got plans for Daniel, so I think Daniel will see a few more anniversaries before he's done. All right. Where's Louie? Louie. Come here, Louie. This is the most important person in this club. No. He organizes the recycling of all things that need to be recycled. He is the head of the dish pit. And this is a thankless job. He's there every day with a smile on his face. His guys work hard. He's got them all organized. If he's not washing dishes, I'm washing dishes. And so I haven't had to wash dishes for a while. So, Louis, thank you.
Thank you.
You betcha. We appreciate you. All right. The backbone of this club is Miss Gina. She keeps their financial square. She runs the office. I can't believe we kind of came in at the same time. You know, I think Joe hired you, and then I came in right after Joe hired her. Gina is by far the most accomplished chief financial officer, controller, whatever you want to call her. I mean, she's learned her trade by apprenticeship. You know, she's been in Angel Fire, down in the Caymans. She's ran some big operations. We are so blessed to have Gina, and happy 5-year anniversary, girl. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, and then the last one's kind of inconsequential. He's somebody that could come and go, and you could replace in a second. So I won't dwell much on I can't believe it's been 5 years. It seems like it's only been a few months, but with COVID and then the fire, sometimes you wonder why you end up where you end up in your life, and you know what led you to get to this point. And at first I thought God brought me here for COVID. That was a mess. There was no playbook to follow. There was nothing. You just had to adjust every day, and the board of directors, with your support, allowed us to pay all our employees, which put us on another level as far as, you know, an organization. And then we had what happened on, you know, the 17th of June. And but I've gone through 3 hurricanes and a flood and a partial tornado, you know, got into a campus. So I had the life experiences to know what had to happen first and what was the next phase. And that's not because of me being anything accomplished. That's because I've been alive long enough and had life experiences. And so I think God brought me here for the fire. But wherever I reach, I mean, blessed to be here. Look out that window, y'all. I mean, it don't get any better than this. We're blessed to be here. And this club will be fine. And the community will come back together. It might take a little while. But I think that this is still the best place in the world to live with the best people to work for. So thank you. Thank you, Jim. All righty. Well, thank you. I mean, everybody, you guys pay dues to have an opinion. And most people are very eloquent in how they express their opinion. And that's part of the deal. And if you, and some of it, some of it's more positive than others, but it's, on the other hand, it's also just work. And there's been times in my career where it's hard for me to not take some of the vitriol home, and so I've had to come up with little quirky little things to do to try to keep it here at work and not take it home with me. But anyway, all right. Let's go back to Miss Tony, and we'll get the minutes approved from last year. Oh, see, that's why I have these people, because I can't remember from yesterday. Employee of the Year is a big deal in this club. And this year, we had a whole bunch of different very good choices. And of all the very good choices, we made the choice of Mercedes Calzada Alvarado. You all know her as the smiling face over at Outlaw. And so, where is Mercedes? There she is. Come on. We can do better than this. All right. So there is some monetary gratitude showed to Miss Mercedes, but here's a plaque that you can have. And it's the first plaque. This is the year that has all three logos on the plaque. So Cocapelli is now in the mix over here. So Mercedes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And her husband, Jose, is in the kitchen over there and does a great job. So we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Let's see if we can go. What do they say? Back to back.
Another year.
Let's keep it going. So all right. I'm sorry for this. I didn't mean to slight. So here's Miss Tony.
I think the first order of business will be to approve the minutes of the meeting from June 24th. Okay. 2023, and our vote is now closed out. Have you all had a chance to read the minutes? Are there any corrections or additions? I would entertain a motion to approve. A second? Okay, and I can't see with the glare. Who? Oh, okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Minutes are approved. I'm not going to dwell on the fire, because if I do, I just cry. So I know all our prayers are with all those that have been affected by both fire and flood. but I'm going to talk about some other things that we happened this year and things we have accomplished instead. But first of all, I want to thank my board, and especially the two members whose terms have expired, Bruce Ellis and Ray Brown. Bruce could not be here, but Ray, would you please stand up? Bruce and Ray together had the ability to disagree without offending any one of us at the board level. They have a way with words that they can get their point across without hurting anybody's feelings. They also had so much wisdom and level-headedness, if that's a word, that it was a huge benefit for both the club and the membership. So thank you very much, Ray. This year has been a very challenging year for management and staff, as well as the board of directors. Member participation has increased rapidly over the last few years. With that increase, we were faced with trying to open up more tea times for the general membership versus organized play. This was not an easy task. We turned it over to Golf and Greens and staff and asked them to come up with a compromise that everybody could live with. And they did a beautiful job of doing just that. Is it a permanent solution? Not necessarily. This was just, we were to try and see if we couldn't relieve some of the organized play and let more tea times open up. They then brought the recommendation to the board, and the board approved it. And I don't know if you probably know, a lot of you have been on boards, but when you make a decision like that, you get a lot of feedback from people. And it's easy to be swayed, to change your mind once that decision was made. But this board was very good and said, no, we are going to do it for a year, and we will stick with the recommendation. And that was an extremely hard thing to do. But I'm very proud of all of them that they did do it. And as I say, this was a trial and to see how things would go. We did not know what Kokopelli would add to us or not. So I'm very proud of the board that did that. Thank you. I also want to tackle or thank all the other commissions too for handling everything we threw at them. We asked for a lot of different recommendations and advice, and they took on all the problems with enthusiasm and came back with recommendations that really helped to guide us as a board. Thank you very much for all of the people that spend all the hours that they do behind the scenes helping us to run this club. Thank you. This year, two wonderful events occurred. The pool and fitness center opened for our membership's enjoyment, and we acquired Kokopelli, which has added a whole new dimension for our membership. We now have 3 very distinct 18-hole golf courses with 3 very different clubhouses. I don't know of any other country club where you can get as much bang for your buck as you do right here in Alto, New Mexico. And then, just when we thought things were settling down, we were thrown into the turmoil and devastation of a forest fire. I started thinking back, I believe it was in 2002, and I was in California at my daughter's, and the national news came on and stated that 28 homes had been lost in Alto, New Mexico. Since that time, we have had our fair share of scares, and we have survived. We have talked about cleaning up our properties, but have never been able to enforce a mandatory cleanup of all properties. We have the ability to do just that, but it would take all subdivisions to come to an agreement, as not all are under the United Covenants. After the devastation that occurred with this latest fire, I would hope we can all agree to find some common ground and come together to make the cleanup happen. If we expect to have fire insurance on our homes, we're going to need to clean up the properties, and we're going to have to look into getting our fire department as a fully manned fire department. I think that only takes 2 people on a 24-hour basis to be there. But we need to help this community and this area accomplish those things. And it's going to take a lot of compromises for a lot of people, especially on the cleanup. The other problem that needs to be addressed is employee housing. For a long time, we did not have too big of a problem. Then long-term rentals seemed to disappear as short-term rental programs really took off. Not just here in Alto, but over this whole community. As our membership has become more active, we have been required to have more workers to service us. As you know, the club has purchased several homes while it was still an affordable option. Now both the fire and floods has exacerbated the problem. Not only do we have a problem housing seasonal workers, but it is also starting to affect our year-round employees. We have looked into a number of different ways to solve the problem, and now think we have found an answer. And Tom's going to be talking about this a little later in the program. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to play a part in the governance of our club. I feel certain that Alto Lakes Golf and Country Club will continue to be the biggest star in the Southwest, if not the nation. Thank you. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn this over to Nathan Thomas for our financial part of it. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Well, good morning, everybody out there. This is the most riveting part of the presentation, financial report, so if you bear with me. First off, I'd just like to, again, clarify, my name is Nathan Thomas. I have the opportunity to sit on the financial committee as a chairman, and I serve with some great people out there, and I think a few of them are here with us. Randy Ackerman, Steve Heilman, Curtis Beal, and Zane Bergman. And so, I'm fortunate enough to sit on a committee where I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So I really appreciate my committee members. Thank you for your feedback and input. You guys are great to work with. And so with all that being said, why don't we get underway? I think all of you have a copy of this in your presentation. A complete copy of the financial report can be made available, I believe, at the front office. And so really the basis of this as we look at the year end for March 31st, 2024, the opinion from our auditors, it's an unmodified opinion, so that's a fancy word for we're good. They believe the overall management and affairs of the finances of the club are in good standing, so that's certainly a win for all of us. With that being said, I guess we'll just jump right into the balance sheet and the assets, so we can just talk about kind of where we stand. How much money do we have left? Obviously, it's been a year of building and acquisition, which has been exciting, but we spent a little bit of money as well. So we start out here, and I'm going to give a summarization of it. Obviously, the numbers kind of speak for themselves, but we want to look at the overall strength of kind of where we're at as an organization. And so, obviously, our current assets, and this is a combination of our cash, our CDs, inventories. Some other items put us right around 10.237 comparative speaking to last year. That's actually up a little bit, which is the good news. Our overall assets have obviously jumped due to several acquisitions that we've incurred, including water rights, other facilities, so on and so forth. So that's the good news. And as we go ahead and mosey on through to the liabilities and equity section of the presentation, we're going to see our current total liabilities. Obviously, those have increased. We do have some debt as an organization as a result of some of the items that we have going on. And so this is going to kind of break that down over and above from last year. We're at $9 million over 6.5. Long-term, debt at 2.5. That's in relation to the pool, and the pay down at which that's occurring is much faster than originally outlined when we went into that agreement. So over the last year, it's been significantly paid down. I think the total acquisition of that was right around $8 million, and so long-term debt on that is certainly much less. And so that's the good news there. Then we get into our member equity unrestricted funds, so it's going to give us bottom line of liabilities and equities of $47,263,000 over $35,999,000 from last year. So that's good there. And then the statement of operations. This is where it gets really exciting. So basically, we're going to have a quick breakdown as our revenues over last year, and that's with everything that's occurred and ongoing. Looks, we're up actually 12.2 over 11 last year, so that's a good increase. Obviously, we've had some increased expenditures to maintain the operation. So those have increased, as you can see, 12.7 over 11.2 from the previous year. And then we get into basically the net income after depreciation, 1.7 million over 1.5 million. And Greg Gregario, I don't know if he's with us or not, had kind of his accounting method, and he would say, here's what we made, here's what we spent, here's where we're at. We used to call it the Gregario method. And so basically when you back out the depreciation, it's a difference of a loss of 187,000 is where we're at. So it's pretty good comparatively speaking to what we've taken on. So as we continue to go through the statement of cash flow on the next slide, where are we at here? So comparatively speaking, year over year again, our net cash provided for operating activities, as compared to speaking to last year, we're up on that number, which is good. Obviously, we've also used some cash to spend on some of the items that we have been building and acquiring. We get down to the bottom of it, basically our supplemental information here, net change, unrealized loss is a loss of 89,563 over 36,076 from last year on our cash flows. So that's a little bit of a more in-depth breakdown. And then we flow over to the second page. And that's a great thing. The cash flow statement, it just keeps going. I mean, it just keeps on cruising. So when we look at our net loss, again, 1.7, realizing over the 1.5 from the previous year. A little bit of breakdown on where some of these items are allocated and going. Really comes down to the net cash provided, a positive of 398 over a loss of 85,956. And so that's kind of a overall summarization of kind of where the audited financial review stands. And I believe at this time, questions can be accepted on the audited financials themselves. Okay, with no questions, let's have mimosas. Do we have any questions out there? Am I buying? Well, I know a number, but Tom wouldn't appreciate that. Wonderful. Okay, I guess with that being said, we'll just kind of cruise right along to the next portion of the presentation, Q&A for commissions, board, and management. So I guess I'll pass that over to somebody more important than me. So anybody, please. All right.
All right, let's give Nathan a big hand. We have probably one of the strongest finance committee since I've been here, and that's reflective for you guys. We have good, young, smart, professional people overseeing our finances. Now, there's one little thing that I need to do, a little housekeeping. We have some plaques that we need to give away. Bruce Ellis, leaving the board, but Bruce isn't here, so I will overnight him that plaque because I know he's waiting for it. Ray Brown. You know, Ray has been a steadying influence. He's one of the smartest people I've ever ran into in my life, and he is just good people. And Ray, thank you for your service. All right. And then Miss Tony. Tony came in. You know, we had a little void of leadership. We had a little change up here and there, people coming and going. So Tony came back in and worked a whole year in the presidency in one of the toughest times that we've had. She's a good friend, and I'll miss her. Yeah, let's give Tony a round of applause. That's a thankless job, you know. You're responsible for everything and have control of nothing, you know. So that's not a job description that most people will take. Now, as far as I know, we have no questions that came through the system of submitting questions for any of the commissions. Is there anybody that had a thought or a question having to do? Mr. Helmke. Mm-hmm. I will. I've got a pretty good breakdown of it. Well, let's talk about it right now. We're not done totaling. We have a general liability insurance. We also have interruption of business insurance. We also had insurance on the golf course, which most clubs don't have because they don't even know you can get it. The only reason I know is because I had a $4.5 million damage in a hurricane and had $75,000 of insurance on it. So it's kind of followed me and stuck with me over the years. So golf course insurance is relatively cheap. Business interruption insurance is not prohibitive. But I think we're at, and now this is a general number, 1.3 million in restoration. We had a $10,000 deductible, and that's our exposure on the restoration. And let me explain why the restoration is important. It's called corporate liability mitigation. The pockets in this club run very deep. They'll go after the club, and then they'll go after y'all. And so we have now certification that if somebody comes 3 months from now, 3 years from now, or 30 years from now and said, I got cancer because you let me in here too early and I'm going to sue you. They have no grounds. We have certifications that are more restrictive than the federal government. And then on top of that, I'm bringing in an environmental agency from New Mexico to check their work. Because that's the loophole now, is you got to check the checkers work. And so you'll never have to worry about being sued. Now, I was in a club and we skipped that step, and it was $3,500 deductible. And within a year and a half, we got issued a $16 million judgment on 4 individuals that were working in there that got stomach cancer. And again, that stuck with me for the rest of my career. Now that could maybe never happen. But do you want to take that chance? They had to sell their golf course, they had to sell their clubhouse, and dissolve to meet the judgment. We'll never have that looking at us having to do with this situation. So, interruption of business insurance is ongoing. I think Gina and we talk about it almost daily. You know, we'll probably be in the middle of September before that all shakes out. We've met with the adjusters, and we've drove, and Gina sends in, and whatever we get, it trickles in, goes, Gina is all over this. And we spent probably altogether close to $50,000 just on a fire crew that came in here, and then the supplemental people that they needed, water trucks. Jack Johnson came in, and Jack, I don't know, you all know Jack. Jack's not a young man. And Jack was out there. Austin Miller. Austin needs, you guys, that's Scott Miller's son. Austin has a company called Summit Enterprises. He was right there with those fire guys. The fire was behind them, and they held their ground. Fire marshal told me they saved 200 houses out here. So we paid $50,000 to have that happen. That's pretty cheap insurance too, as far as I'm concerned. But we've submitted to the insurance, and hopefully it'll get covered. If it doesn't, I've had people call, we spent $3 million and we're going to have an assessment to pay for it. That's not accurate. We didn't spend $3 million, for one thing. And we're not going to have to do an assessment to cover any insurance losses. Now, that doesn't mean there's not another act of God or something else happens, and that somewhere in this club's history there's going to have to be an assessment. But it won't be because of us doing our due diligence and protecting you guys. So, any other questions about the insurance, David? No? Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate it. There's a lot of questions that I get that I'm going to volunteer information before that hasn't been asked, and maybe that's ignorant or stupid, but I'm trying to be transparent. So, first question. What was the actual contractual agreement to build the pool? $7,929,000 and $7,929,123. That was the contract number. As of today, we are at $8,030,435. But there's a balance of $141,000 that's mostly being carried as savings from the contractor. So we're going to come within a couple $1,000s one way or the other of the original contract price. Now, that's not the whole story, though. There are things that came up during the building of it. They're called change orders, or things that we did not want to pay the markup on the contract with the contractor. So, some of these items, and pardon me that I just had cataract surgery, but I still really can't see up close. We spent $39,000 on a full fire alarm system we took out of the contract, so we didn't have to pay the markup. That's correct, Gina? Am I saying that right? Okay. We spent $3,000 for a security alarm system. We spent $13,000 for a water softener. Wasn't included in the scope. And we thought that was important, that you could go in there and take a shower and not feel like your hair had turned into barbed wire. So we went ahead and got a pool and fitness portable lift. And I know Chip's Raven, I don't see Chip here, Chip Ravencroft, the Armstrongs, there's people that have, and Mrs. Obregon, there's people that use that on a weekly basis, and it's helping them. You know, Frank, I don't know if you know Frank Higgins. Frank has been a workout fixture in this club for decades. Frank's was on death's bed, and he battled back, and he's going to be back in the gym on the 1st of August. Frank will be using that lift. Chip tells me, Chip's Ravencroft, that his wife is improving exponentially because she can get in that water without hurting herself and get back out. So that was something that we didn't by code need to have, but we felt like it was a definite asset for the membership. Let's see. We put pool and fitness cameras in. We had pool and fitness coolers where you have the complimentary water and things like that in there. We put in a access system, fob system, $18,000. We put shades, so when you're working out in the afternoon and you're looking at the beautiful mountain, the shades come. We can bring the shades down, and it's a lot more bearable and a lot more enjoyable. Pool and fitness furniture, we've added on to what we had was another 17, and then I don't know if you've noticed all the flowers and the landscaping and all the pots around there. Doesn't that make you proud when you drive up and see that? Now, that's money that we could have just put in our pocket, but, I mean, look at behind you. Look at the flowers. That young lady, what's her name? Sheris. That's a name you don't hear every day. And so she's keeping all this outlaw cocoa beautified. I drive up here. I'm proud to I'm proud to work here. I mean, it's very aesthetically pleasing. So altogether, $8,560,023.95, which could come down $100,000 with whatever we save on the contract. But that's the number. Does anybody think that we cut any corners over there, or there's anything over there that isn't as top quality as it could be? That's a 30-year solution. We could have done a 10-year solution and been working on it by next year, fixing it. Guys like Scott Dickerson spent, Ken Wall, Jaime Torres and Bert Majeres. Is that how you say his last name? I'm married to a Spanish lady, but I don't speak Spanish all that well. I know all the bad words, but I don't know. So these people spent hours and hours and hours of their own time to bring that in over there. I think those people deserve a very roaring round of applause. Scott, thank you. And during that time, Scott's over there getting that pavilion, pickleball pavilion, tennis pavilion put together, which is another great asset for the club. So these people work and work and work and work, and you never see them out there. They never complain. They don't get a free drink. They don't get shit. And they never complain or bitch about anything. Okay, so that's the story, financial story of the pool from the horse's mouth. The other questions I get is, how much money have we spent over at Coco? Holy mackerel, that place looks amazing. We spent $418,884.56, which 438 of that was the money, we haven't spent all the money over there that was that water fund money that you released in the vote last year. So we still got money left. the way that was worded is we had till the 1st of April to spend that money. And so I could have spread that out over a period of time, but we went ahead and got it right. Now, we're still working to get the food service over there correct. I'm not trying to nobody's patting anybody's on the back. We'll get better over there, but they've had 2 major interruptions. That restaurant was closed for 2 years. We replaced every piece of equipment in there. And so that will be something that I think you all are going to rant and rave and be proud of as we get it where it needs to be. So, all right. Employee housing. If you guys could get the slides up there for the, okay. As all the rental property in this town either is flooded or burned up, this is something that's very important. Now, we brought to you different options, and members have came and brought us better options, and we feel that La Junta Ranch, which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's just about 1.2 miles from here. 7-minute drive. It's kind of a winding road, and there's 60 bedroom opportunities, which we don't have 60 bedroom opportunities with all the properties that we own. It's a central location. The plan for this would be that we would sell our existing properties to pay for it. Now, there's going to be a period of time, and we're going to ask, I'm going to ask you tonight for permission to bring this to a vote, because it requires a vote of our membership, even though it's kind of like a 1031. We're taking existing assets and repurposing them to another asset, but you need to be good with this. You need to, I would never allow this to move forward without the blessing of our membership, because it's your money. These other homes that we're selling are your properties. Now, we have all our properties in a separate LLC to protect you all. So if we short-term rent it, or we have a H-2B living over there and they hurt themselves and try to sue the club, they can't sue the club. They can sue the LLC, but they can't get to y'all. So this property was built. It's in, all that information is in there, and I won't get into the minutiae of it, but this is even more important now, in my eyes, as an option for recruiting local help. The H-2B program has been a blessing for us, but that program is somewhat in disarray, and I don't think that we're going to have the ability to use H-2Bs for much longer in the near future. So we need to transition into more of an internship program. I can go out, I was blessed to go to Cornell for a period of time, and so I have connections there. I went to Michigan State for a period of time. I worked for 20 years, and then I decided what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so then I went back to school and got the book knowledge of what I have attained in an apprenticeship by being hands-on. And everything that I learned in those places was great, and it taught me how to be a chief executive officer and blah, blah. But when it comes to actually getting it done, the 25 years that I worked and got the practical experience is what I lean on every day. But, so every big hospitality school in the country has 150 to 200 hospitality graduates that need to get hours, practical hours, to get their degree. And so if you have a place for these kids to live, you get the best of the best, because their education doesn't, what they paid for their education doesn't include housing when you go out and get your practical. So you're getting people that come in here that are going into this industry. Now, we've had job fairs, and we've went to Las Cruces, to New Mexico State, and we've went to UTEP, and we've went to a lot of colleges around here. And we could recruit a lot of really bright-eyed and really eager and very talented kids. But we get down to the point of where in the hell are they going to live? There is nowhere. So at some point in time, for this club to maintain and move forward, and I understand there's going to be a little pause in the acceleration of, we've done a lot in a hurry around here. And so before the fire even happened, we've talked about going back and editing what we did in here. Is it finished? Is the outdoor patio, is that really finished, or the covered pavilion? And so there's a lot of little details that we're going to go back and address. Now, since the fire, we've sat down as a board, and me and Gina together. There'll be no more capital expenditures for this fiscal year moving forward. We're going to hold that money. We're going to stop those programs. Whatever we were going to build or replace, we'll make it work till we can replace it. That's fiscal responsibility. That's why I can look at you and say, unless we have some other kind of a disaster, there will be no operational assessment or assessment to pay insurance proceedings or anything. So that leads us to the number one priority, which is, in my humble opinion, staff housing. So, is there any questions out there? The material's there for you to look at. What's your concerns? Mr. Stokes. Come here. Let me come to you. All right. Here you go. Everybody knows Len Stokes.
This little guest ranch was built in 1963. I don't know that, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think that before the club goes and buys this, that you need to do a thorough inspection on it. My guess is everything up there is stick frame. You don't know if there's the ants, carpenter ants. You don't know what kind of shape that's in until you do a thorough inspection of it. And I would not be for buying anything that old without it. And I think you need to not only do the inspection, but you need to come with a cost of what it's going to cost to bring everything up to code, to current day code, because this stuff, my only problem with the things that we've done is every project here that we've started since I've been back here has been going to cost $5 and it's ended up costing $15. And that's what we need to stop. We need to know what the cost of this is going to be before we vote on it. And that's my suggestion.
My only question, Tom, is are we going to get a real appraisal before we buy this thing?
Contingency of sale is appraisal and inspection. I don't disagree with Lynn or Ed, you're right. That's just, to me, that's just basic business, though. We would not, go ahead and purchase. There's contingencies for us to purchase this. We had to get it under contract. They would not move off of the list price. So we tried at 1.7. The list price is 2.1. We submitted 1.7. They kicked it back. We presented 1.9, and they kicked it back. So now we're at list price. The contingencies are a member vote. If there's a member vote and the vote isn't affirmative, then it's over. Then we'll go on and try to find something else. The second contingency was that the houses would sell before we would close, and that's impossible. There's other buyers that that are looking at it, and so we would have to have a little bridge financing, and the bank has already agreed to that, and it's really basically like a construction loan. There might be a little bit of interest, but very little. Those houses were all encumbered as collateral when we built the pool. And so the collateral then would move from the houses as they sold to the property. But the other contingencies are you have to be able to get fire insurance. If we can't get fire insurance, the deal's done. If it appraises for less and the inspection shows repairs that need to be done, then it's on the seller to either do the improvements or want to sell it as is, and then that'll be a decision that'll be made by that board that's going to be seated. And in my opinion, it probably should then at that point, like Lynn said, we pitch a job for $5 and we pay $15 for it. That's not inaccurate. And I'm the guy running the place. So I can say on that, generally when we say it's going to cost $5, that's what is truly believed at that point in time, and then sometimes things happen that create it to be more expensive. But that's neither here nor there. Yes, sir. It's been on the market different times. I think this last time it's been on the market for about 90 days, maybe. But it was on the market at one time for quite a while. But the price was considerably higher. So.
The only other comment I would have is operational expenses once we have it.
Yeah.
It would be, I would imagine, considerably higher than what we currently have.
Well, and I thought that too. But then I started looking at, we pay $23,000 a year for cable for all our houses. We also have homeowner association dues that we pay for our houses. The property taxes, everything. I think it would be, and not close to a wash. But the other thing is when you bring these kids in to live in these properties, part of their employment contract is to assume some of the operational duties having to do with the property. If it's housekeeping or if it's, really housekeeping would be the big thing, I think, on there. So, but that's a good question, and those things would have to be delineated. Do you think that the need is worth the risk? Because that's what's in my mind. If we don't do this and hopefully can find something else in the community that'll meet the needs, is that a risk that you'd want to take? Because if we can't maintain employees, then we're going to have to change how we operate.
How many homes do we own?
All right. The question is, how many homes do we own? We own a 5-bedroom, 4-bath duplex at Lookout Estates. That's one. We own a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house on Hanson. If you don't know where Hanson is, it's kind of basically right behind Hometown Tire. It's a block off of Meacham. We have a 5-bedroom, 4-bath townhouse on Dancing Star, which is part of the Alto Alps complex. We also have a 3-bedroom, 3-bath condo at Alto Alps. And then we have a double duplex on Brentwood that is basically a 3-bedroom, 2-bath times 2. So I consider that one unit. So altogether we have 5 units. The idea would be hopefully to hang on to the Brentwood property and not have to sell that to pay for this other deal. Yes, sir.
value of these that we own?
Estimated value of what we own is over $2 million. So these are just estimates that come. They have never been really appraised. We had to get them appraised when we changed insurance. 2.5 was the insurance appraised. That was a year ago, or a year and a half ago now. And then we've done a lot of improvements on them since then. So, one second. Yes, well, they were used. The bank required some kind of collateral behind us borrowing against our own money. It will be released once we pay off the note. Yeah. How much do we have left on the? I know it was in the finance. Yeah. We owe 2.5 of the 8 million. The bank says we can use, as we sell the houses, the collateral then will change from the house to the La Junta property. Yeah. So, does that make sense? Okay. All right. Well, there was, well, the inside looks way better than the pictures. There was a lot of money spent on that in the last couple of years. And it's more lipstick and rouge, it's flooring. The wood floors are really nice. All the appointed fixtures in there are nice. The one thing you can't really see is the plumbing, but there's enough crawl space and stuff that, the idea is that we're going to not challenge the list price, but with the inspection and the appraisals have some leverage as far as the agreed upon total price. They have been very unwilling to negotiate. But they have a large university in the area that wants to buy it, and it's in high demand, and even more higher demand now since everything burned up. It has a extensive positive rental history. It has a big hall to feed hundreds of people. It has a commercial kitchen in one of the, the other thing, for me is there's a huge laundry, but there's also individual laundry opportunities all throughout the property. The other thing, there's about 4 to 5 acres of undeveloped land that can be developed to augment the housing needs there. There's 2 barns. There's a very modern storage facility. Then there's an old wood barn that could be either replaced or taken down. Or, one of the things with H2B kids, they come with a bunch of luggage. Unbelievable. Well, they're going to be here for a whole summer. They don't come with the duffel bag. So it meets the criteria of a lot of things that we check off the list when we're looking at properties. But there's nothing, there's no glaring, the electric service is going to have to be beefed up. We know that. We've had Ricky LeMay out there. We've had an HVAC company out there and looked at it. Yes, sir.
Tom, I think that my point is that before you take this to a vote, we get somebody out there and we get a cost of what it's going to cost to bring this thing up to where it's going to be right. Because I guarantee you it's built in 1963. It's not right. It's, it's wood frame, it's stick frame. There's issues with it. And I just don't want to vote on something. We've just been there. Sure. And I don't want to vote on something that's going to be 2.1 and it ends up being 3 million. And you don't know that. I don't want to sign a contingency contract with somebody and vote on that if we don't know what we're looking at to bring it up to snuff.
You're exactly right. the vote is one contingency of three. You know, we can't move forward without a vote. Now, if you guys release me to get an appraisal and pay that money and get inspections and pay that money, then hallelujah, that cleans up a lot of the mess, you know. But I would come to you. I've already got appraisal numbers, about 4,500. And I got that from the bank, because the bank is going to have to be, it's going to be their appraisal. And inspection, you know, I don't know what that'll be, but it'll probably be in the $2,500 range or somewhere in there. Yeah, probably. It's currently Alto code. Now, I don't know last time they looked at it, to Lynn's point. But at any point in this process, if it's going to be something that's not in the best interest of the club, it'll be over, you know. Well, we need to be expeditious. I don't think we need to be reckless, you know, but the complexity of this is, come next 1st of May, the other houses have to be sold. We have to have that property. We have to have it up. And the electricity doesn't have enough service for how we would use it. And so Ricky LeMay looked at LeMay Electric, and he thought it'd take about $200,000 to get that up to snuff. All the other work, the siding, there's cracks in the siding. The windows would be replaced eventually. You know, that's kind of cosmetic stuff. As far as Ricky went through all the boxes, the electric, that's usually the killer. And he came to the conclusion that if you upgrade the service, then you're done. Now, there's some HVAC, there's some splits, there's some other things that would, have to be. So we figured $300,000 with what the professionals that work for us told us that that's what we'd spend initially. Now, after that, you could replace windows. There's 5 different buildings. You would replace the windows as you upgraded the outdoor siding, and then that would be something that would be budgeted every year like we do everything else. So, but Lynn's making a great point. I respect Lynn. I respect Ed and Lynn. I respect you guys. Like, I wouldn't say I respect you as much as my own dad, but pretty close. But pretty close. Yeah. All righty. Hi. Mm-hmm.
That we currently have, what will our maintenance go up to, our sustainability, our bills, that type of thing? We can see the big increase in utilities. Number one, number two, maintenance of the grounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
We will see a decline in maintenance because of all the different complexities of all the houses that we have. There will be a cost too. There was a question whether or not we'd have it fire-wise certified. Well, first of all, there has to be a criteria of what fire-wise certification is in the county, and the county doesn't have one. So that's one thing. Mr. Cooley, I'll get you right here in a second. So that's something that we would have to determine. Yes, sir.
From your research on this subject, do you have any competitive prices for other things that you have looked at? How does this option compare with some of the other things you've identified?
Okay. This one's $2.1 million. The other one that we really got serious about was Elevate Hotel at 5.5. So that would have to, we couldn't pay cash for that. We would have to get encumbered, or go to the membership for somebody who wants to invest. But this is a pretty unique find, what we're looking for. And, proximity, yes, this is an older property. I don't debate that. Mr. Cooley, this guy's here being part of the solution, and his house burned down, and I respect this guy. Thank you. You've been a wonderful member, been a president of this club, served for years and years and years, and thank you for all your service.
You bet. You know, one of the questions that comes to mind is we haven't discussed water at this environment. And that plus the septic, that needs to be looked at as well. So back to you.
The water's on a Sun Valley water system, or I don't know what actually the proper name of it is. So it's not wells. It's part of a water co-op, I guess. The last contingency of the deal is the septic inspection. So all those things are been identified, and we'll make sure we do our due diligence.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dukes. We had to hold the property, or we would have got sold out from underneath us.
How long do we have?
Oh, to the end of October, 1st of November. End of October, 1st of November. The first contingency is to have a vote, either affirmative or non-affirmative, by the 1st of September. And so that kind of wheels off of all the other. Inspection has to be done. The closing date is between October 15th and November 1st. And that was needed, so they rent that place, and they rent it. Even now, we went over there to do some drone shots, and they wanted us to go over there when there was about a 2-hour window to go over there before it filled up again. So with all what's burned down, the rental property of that is pretty in high demand. All right, any other questions? Yes. Property is totally operational. Yep.
We could move in immediately what we need.
We could move in now long term if we're going to fill it up with 60 people, 60 bedrooms for 3 or 4 months in a row. We would want to do the electric upgrade because we would have problems. But other than that, it's being occupied, used, and rented completely currently. So. No. These dates were picked so they would quit renting it and have it clear for our occupancy upon closing. Yes. Well, the H-2B program is a Department of Labor endeavor. And so, I went to high school with a kid that was 2 years older than me, but he's the number 4 guy now in the Department of Labor. And so he's my little insight. And he tells me that the H-2B program as it is will cease in 2028. Totally. Now, if it's a year before or a year after, that just gives you a target. We have to be prepared to transition into something other than the H-2Bs sometime in the next 4 years. And so the reason that I would like to keep the Brentwood properties is if I go out and recruit management, those properties are conducive to bring a family in. They have their own space. They're not sharing it with a large group of people. It's not like it's a dormitory, but what I would like to do is get permission from our realtor and from the owners to have an open house date during the period of time that we would be doing a vote, early in the period where everybody can go over there. I'll go out there and cook hamburgers in the courtyard. It's a beautiful property. But it is 60 years old. Do you think that would be advantageous in helping you make a decision? I hear a splattering of applause. Does that mean that you guys would take the time out of your life to go over and look at it? If I set this up, all right, then I'll set it up, because that was one of the things that we talked about when we first looked at it. And we did with the hotel. The hotel was super move-in ready. That hotel is clean as a whistle, but their asking price doesn't support the revenue that it generates, and then the generation of the revenue would totally change with our application of it. We wouldn't have used it as a hotel. We would have used it more as an apartment complex. And we would have depended on the hospital and Eastern New Mexico and the village and the tract to lease rooms from us. All that goes away with this property. Now, anytime, a guy like me is giving you a pitch, you get attached to the property. You get attached as the face of me trying to talk you into doing this. All I'm trying to do is bring to a head the need for employee housing. And this whole process, we can pick out a date anywhere in this process and kill it. And we have earnest money, $34,000 of earnest money that's holding this property, 1.5% of the appraised value. Mr. Crawford.
When you look at the price and you look at square footage, and not including the land or anything else, you're looking about $185 a square foot. What would it cost today to go out and not looking at the acquisition of land, but what would it cost today to build this structure in today's dollars?
Excess of $300 a foot. $300. And it would probably take 3 or 4 years to get it done. So, and that's an option. Mr. Crawford's a banker out of Las Cruces. This guy's smarter than me, I know that. And yes, sir.
So how many permanent employees would this be housing, and what would the rest do from November until May? What would you propose?
Well, I'm going to put 60 people in there in the summer. It'll be in the summer, yeah.
So an H2B type, your kids from Cornell, whatever.
Yeah.
What about the rest of the
Well, if we transition into interns, we would probably have in there 40 to 60 year round. Because remember last year at New Year's Eve, we had 450 people in here for a concert, and I had 300 people over there for a candlelight dinner. We're not as seasonal as we used to be. We have staffing issues basically year round. Now, I would like to, over the next few years, transition from H2Bs, and nothing against them. They're great people. They have done an excellent job here. And we are getting people that have been H2Bs here and getting their legal status because they've been so positive. But if I could get down to where I have 20 H2Bs and 40 interns that can be here year round, then we'd really have the tiger by the tail. And so that would be my hope and my goal, if that answers your question.
Does the intern program work that way?
Oh, yeah, the intern program, that's the staple of 90% of the clubs in the United States. The H2B program is pretty when Joe first brought him in, and I think we had like 24 of them, it cost us about, I don't know, 40 to 60,000. Now with 60, we're way over 200,000. That's just to get them here. And then we pay them, and then they pay us a little bit back for the housing, and it works. But, this has been a tough year on the visa kids. They had to get evacuated twice. We drug them all the way to Alamogordo. In the last fire, they were there for a week. not even knowing if they could get back even and get in and get their belongings out of the houses. Luckily, we didn't lose any of the houses. That'd have been another nightmare with all their belongings. And they are in our custody. One thing that was developed in the insurance is we have control and custody of the visa kids while they're here. They're our responsibility, and we need to treat them, and we need to pay them, and we did. We also found out we had brand integrity. They couldn't take all of our Pro Shop stuff, ship it down to Mexico, and sell it for $1 with our logo on it. We stopped that, and so we're gonna take those savings. We're gonna have a fire sale thrift shop over in the old gym here shortly, where you can come in and buy a Peter Millar shirt with our logos on it for cost, because that's all we're gonna get out of it is cost. All you're going to have to do is take it to the dry cleaner or wash it in cold water, and it's just like new. But it has a little hint of smokiness, so we couldn't sell it as new. Yes? Yeah. Multiple. Gina's making a great point. The other positive about this is a central location. I've got two 15-person vans flying over this town all day long, from house to house to house to house, from shift to shift. You know, and things that keep me up at night is people walking on High Mesa and somebody texting splatters them all over the road. The other thing is we're running these vans 24 hours a day all over this town, and our clock's ticking. Eventually we're going to have something happen. You know, whether it's our fault or not, it's really immaterial. You know, so that would take, it's a 7-minute trip from here to this property, which is one of the things that's advantageous about it. Not to the point where you go into a bad deal over it. I'm not saying that, but... Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson. Mm-hmm.
Is there room to do other type of events if need be, if we want that outdoor social event, maybe a money-raising event?
Yeah.
Nothing in mind, is there potential to have that?
The question is the property conducive to having outside-the-box types of activities, fundraisers, outdoor activities? And the answer is yes, it's enormous. There's probably 1.5 acres being used out of the 6. So there's all kinds of other things that you can do. Oh, no, man. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sitting there listening to him, and you guys are going, what the hell did he say? All right. Thank you. All right. Mr. Lidke.
So I want to commend the board for looking at these types of options. If you look at the financials on it, without even putting any money into the other property, we could finance it for, say it went up to $3 million, we could still finance it for $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And if you look at the cost of a short-term rental now, that's going to be about 2 houses, and you can't put 60 people in that. So, again, commend the board for the contingencies that secured us. If it comes out that it doesn't look good, then we can walk away. But at least we've got a good option. The other thing to consider, there are private citizens in this club that would finance this, go buy it, and do a long-term lease back to the club. So that's always a fallback position because, you know, $2.5, $3 million to people, you know, get a consortium put together, pay back a nice interest rate. It's good business opportunity.
Great point by Mr. Litke. Also, I don't know, there's a guy sitting in the back over here. I don't know if he's trying to hide or, nobody's going to throw. Pierre Pfeffer. All that information that came through our system, 90% of it came through this young man over here. And you need to know that. Let's give that. All right, let's get up because he was tireless in his quest for knowledge and getting it to y'all. And so, Pierre, take a bow. All right. Yeah. There's a human side to Mr. Pfeffer as well. So, yes.
My name's Austin Keith. I've been here for a member at least 10, 12 years. My father was a member up here, Bob Keith, for many years. We're dependent on staff to be here. I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and allow Tom to do the inspection fully on everything, septic, the whole 9 yards. Find out for sure that we can get fire insurance, and let's move forward on this. We've already put $35,000 on earnest money right now, so we need to get this job going.
Thank you, sir. You know, I've managed a lot of different places, and there seems to be an inherent, I don't know what the proper word is. There's lack of trust in management and a lack of trust in the board. And it's been that way since I've been here. And I don't know what happened before I got here. You know, I know Joe was a great manager. He got this club back to health, and now we've taken and ran with it. And I know a lot of the changes are also very hard for a certain demographic of our membership. Change is a 4-letter word, you know. And but I think the things that I'm proud of, I'm not going to apologize for anything that's happened since I've been here. I've had people slide letters under my door saying, well, how much money are you making off this stuff? You know, it's hard to forget that stuff. You know, or how much money did you make off the restoration of this club? I didn't make a damn dime. All I did was work an extra 40 hours a week on top of the 40 hours or 60 hours a week that I normally work. And I did it because I knew to do it. I knew that had to happen to protect everybody in this room, whether or not that you enjoy the change or don't have any respect for management or board. I did it anyway for everybody. I just didn't do it for the people who support this club. I did it for the people who don't support it. So I appreciate the call to allow us to move forward. Are we ready for that? Is there still more questions? Here, Mr. Zelt.
I second it.
Mr. Zelt seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor of moving forward, raise your hand. All in favor of more due diligence, raise your hand. Well, I don't know. I don't count very well. That's not my forte. But due diligence needs a definition. I will get the appraisal. I will get the inspection. I will come up with a number that it's going to take to bring it. We had a terrible relationship with the inspectors in Ruidoso prior to the pool. And now we have a pretty positive relationship with them. I'm going to get Mr. David, or what, I don't know what his last name is, and see if I can get him to go out there and tell us what is going to be your problem if you come out to inspect this. What do we need to be looking for? Where is the pitfalls? You know, I see the moisture in between the windows and some of the older windows. I know they have to go. You know, Ricky LeMay, Ricky was out here at 3 in the morning hooking up standby generators to save our inventory. So I know he's not in it to screw. He didn't even charge me for that. He came out here, got out of bed, spent 2 hours hooking up generators. And then I said, what do I owe you? He said, you don't owe me nothing. I've used him out here since I've been here. I use him at my own house. He is a good man. And so I have to believe that he's going to give me a straight number, but I'm going to take him back out there again. And we spent 2 hours out there one day and found every box, every electrical box, inspected everything. And the only thing that he could find was where the juice came into the main building, there was only 200 amps going out to the whole rest of all the other 4 buildings. And he said, that won't stand up with the way you guys want to use it. And so there's 200, 300, even if it comes to $500,000, that'll be a number that will delineate, and then I'll try to get that all done. If you want us to vote, and we'll have a date, it will have to be 30 days from Monday or whenever, I'll promise you I'll get those numbers to you halfway through that period so you can make an intelligent vote. And if it takes a little bit longer than that, you can always come in and say, I want to change my vote to whatever, yes or no to yes, or whatever it is. Well, because the fact that it's going to be a new board, the old board, it wasn't really proper for them to endorse or not endorse because it was going to be a different group of people. And so I thought that was very intelligent and very wise to not encumber a future board on a decision going out the door. Just 3 of them. But three is enough to swing, whatever, And 3 or 2 depends on I don't know how the vote came out. I intentionally stayed out of that deal because everybody tries to get me to cough up the information before it's announced. Yes, sir.
So the board didn't authorize this contract to be signed?
The question was, did the board not authorize this contract to be signed? No, they did authorize it. They did authorize it. But they didn't make a final determination on it. They left that to the... We paid the earnest money because we had to, or we were going to lose the property. But all the contingencies that could end this thing could be ended by the new board. So that's what happened. All right, one more question. All right, the question has been called. We did have I looked like a straw vote, but I think now, Mr. Cooley, you have a better feel of what the due diligence will be? All right, so the due diligence question has been answered. All right, so we'll do the vote again. All in favor, stand up. Well, no, the reason that we're doing this is so we can bring it to the first level of contingency is to have a vote.
Is there a form here to do that?
Yes.
Properly, procedurally?
Yes.
My question was the new board, yes, they're going to have a say in this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand, yes, you are going to do your due diligence before this goes to vote.
I wasn't going to get an inspection or an appraisal. I wasn't going to get an inspection or appraisal before I had the right for the... I don't get what you're saying. Yes, and that's what we said we were going to do. Well, I wasn't going to until there was a consensus that you wanted us to move forward with it as this group. Then I'll spend the money because it's not my money to spend, it's y'all's money. It's the contract is just to hold the property. It's not to buy the property.
As Glenn mentioned, of course you have to have these inspections and know exactly what this is going to cost, and you have to go. Anyway, you can stand. I just don't know if this is a proper forum. And yes, of course, you have to go do your proper due diligence, Tom, and that is going to be regardless if we stand. But that is part of getting this to vote, is so we all have the information, which is the information you're working on. I get that. I just don't know if this is a quorum or what. It's just a small portion of the membership, and I think everyone is in agreement that you have to have your due diligence, which, yeah. So, thank you.
The question on a quorum, I think, can be answered over here.
I believe that what Tom is actually asking for is just kind of a straw vote as to how the membership feels. Nothing will be done until the new board decides whether or not to put this out for a vote to the membership. So it will be up to the new board to authorize that, and once that happens, then the rest will all come into effect. But he was just trying to get an idea about how people feel about it. So this is not a legal binding anything. Okay? Does that answer it, Kim? Does that help? Yep, it will be with the new board. We know. We know that. Thank you. Is there anything else? Or are we ready to find out who your new board is? First, I want to thank all of the candidates that put themselves out to run for this office. That's not a necessary, easy thing to do. It's a long-term commitment. It's a 3-year commitment, and they have no idea how much work they're really going to have to do. But okay, this is in alphabetical order. The 3 top: Gary Bills, Jimmy Goats, and Jim Solomon. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, okay. I have nothing to do with that, since I will no longer be on the board. But no, they will. I am going to call that the new board go into session. They will have the opportunity of either picking a new president at this time or deciding to hold off until Jimmy Goats could be back here, which I understand is by Monday. They have a quorum, so they can make the decision. We're not dictating that. That's the new board's decision. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Lickey, you make the motion?
Marty Cope seconds. All those in favor? Okay, new board, please meet in the boardroom. Oh, okay.